Okay, let's dive right into something pretty amazing, how to automate project planning using a crew of AI agents. We're going to see how a simple idea can be blown up into a detailed, ready-to-use project plan.
I mean, really think about it for a sec. All those hours, sometimes even days, you spend breaking down tasks, trying to estimate timelines, figuring out who's doing what. It's a massive effort. And honestly, it's often the biggest bottleneck before you can even start the real work.
So today, we're not just going to talk about this in theory. Nope, we're actually going to build a multi-agent AI crew that can take a simple project brief and just, boom, turn it into a full, structured plan. And it does it practically in the blink of an eye.
Our crew is made up of 3 specialist agents, and each one has a very specific job. First up, the project planner. Its whole purpose is to break that big goal down into smaller individual tasks. Then it hands off that list to the estimation analyst, who figures out the time and resources needed for each task. And finally, the allocation strategist takes all that info and assigns the right people to the right jobs. It's like a little assembly line.
Now, here's the most important part. We don't want the AI to just spit out a long paragraph of text. The whole goal is to get a structured, machine-readable output, specifically in a format called JSON. You can think of JSON as a kind of universal language that lets different apps talk to each other. This is absolutely key, because it means we can plug this plan directly into tools we already use, like Jira or Trello, with no manual data entry.
To build this, we're going to use a really smart approach called configuration as code. So instead of burying all our prompts and agent definitions deep inside our Python script, which would be a mess to update, we're separating the what from the how. The what is the agent's personality and the task descriptions, and the how is the Python logic that actually makes it all run.
And this is where it gets really cool. We define an agent's entire personality in a simple YAML file, which is just a clean, easy-to-read text file. We give it a role, like the ultimate project planner, a very clear goal, and even a backstory to give it some context. This makes the agent's behavior super predictable and incredibly easy to change later.
And this right here is why that separation is such a game changer. You can update an agent's entire mission or just tweak a task's description by editing this one text file. You don't have to touch a single line of Python. This makes your agents reusable, your code way cleaner, and it even supports dynamic variables, which we'll see in just a moment.
But, there's a classic problem with large language models, right? How do you stop them from just giving you a long, messy wall of text that's basically impossible for a computer to understand reliably? We need to force our AI to give us that final project plan in a very, very specific format.
And here is our secret weapon for that, a Python library called Pydantic. The best way to think about it is that we're creating a strict data contract. We're basically telling the AI, hey, your final answer must look exactly like this blueprint I'm giving you, with these specific fields and these specific data types, no exceptions.
And here's what that contract looks like in the code. We define exactly what a task estimate needs, a name, the hours, and the resources. We define what a milestone is, and then we roll them all up into the main project plan object. There's zero ambiguity. The AI knows precisely what kind of structure it needs to produce.
Okay, so let's jump over to the Python code and see how we stitch all this together. It's actually way less complicated than you'd think. We load our YAML files, we create our agents and tasks just by pointing to the right keys in our config, and then, here's the magic step, we tell the very last task that its output must conform to our project plan Pydantic model. That's the enforcement piece. I mean, just look at how clean this is. The Python code itself isn't bogged down with these giant, complicated prompt descriptions. It's just a conductor, orchestrating all the pieces that are neatly defined over in our configuration files. This makes it so much more readable, maintainable, and easy to scale.
All right, so now our crew needs a project to work on. We feed it a simple dictionary of inputs for a new website. And these variables, like the project type, the objectives, the team members, these are the same placeholders we saw earlier inside the curly braces in our YAML files. They get dynamically injected into the prompts when the crew runs.
And with everything set up, this is all it takes. Seriously, one line of code, crew.kickoff. We pass in our project inputs, and the entire multi-agent team just goes to work, passing the project along the assembly line until that final plan is totally complete.
So, what does a sophisticated, fully automated planning session like this actually cost? Using GPT-4o Mini, this entire execution, from breaking down tasks to allocating resources, cost a grand total of 0.3 of a cent. It's just unbelievably efficient. So, what do we get back at the end? Not just a string of text. We get a fully formed Pydantic object. It's pure, structured data that perfectly matches that project plan contract we designed earlier, all ready for our application to start using immediately.
Okay, so let's look at the payoff. This is the good stuff. Here's the task breakdown. We get this clean, table-ready list of every single task, from create a responsive design to ensure SEO optimization, and it even includes the estimated hours and the specific team members who are assigned.
But it gets even better. The crew didn't just give us a flat list of tasks. It was smart enough to group them into logical milestones. So here you can see it's mapped out Phase 1, initial design, Phase 2, development, and Phase 3, optimization. It literally created a high-level roadmap for the entire project, all on its own.
So let's just step back and think about what just happened here. We have successfully automated a really complex and traditionally very manual process. We started with just a few lines of requirements, and in a matter of seconds, we produced a detailed, structured, and totally actionable plan for almost no cost.
Look, this framework for project planning is really just one example of what's possible. The real power here is how adaptable this is. So the question I really want to leave you with is this. What repetitive, time-consuming process in your own work could you hand over to an AI crew?